brought you out here tonight?
Well, I'm part of the Lived Experience Coalition, which you see there, that sign.
Okay.
And so we wanted to come out here today just to celebrate Juneteenth. And the Lived Experience Coalition, we're a group of people who have experienced homelessness. A lot of our coalition members are still currently experiencing homelessness. And we believe that racism and systemic oppression is some of the root causes for homelessness. In a country, in a community with as much wealth that we have, there's absolutely no reason why we should have as many people experiencing homelessness that we do.
Can you expand on that as far as like
Yeah.
the reasons behind why it's considered racist?
Yeah, like when we look at the data, like the data doesn't lie. The disproportionality of black, native, and brown people experiencing homelessness is just off the roof. Sorry, but not only when we look at the data, but when we look at like all, the history, right? Like of Jim Crow laws, redlining, the the war on drugs. There's been a constant bombardment on communities of color.
Or like the banks, how they would only
Yeah,
loan to certain
exactly,
people
exactly.
based on what they considered was
Right,
risky.
right. And it's like all of these policies that don't really call out race, but they have a racialized impact. Like we look at the war on drugs, where it was like when you had a drug epidemic in the black community, and the response was lock them up. It was a criminal justice response. But when we look at the opioid crisis, which is mainly impacting the white community, we see more of a health and human services response and the opioid crisis and not wanting to take a criminal justice response. And so, but really what we see happening for the white community, that should be for all people. That should be for all Americans. It's like, especially when people talk about white privilege, really it's a right. And all people should have that right. It should be extended to everyone. It shouldn't be seen as a privilege. Everyone should be treated with respect and should be treated fairly and should have opportunities to thrive. So we have all of these policies that don't call out race but have a racialized impact. And our systems are chock full of these policies. And that's why we're getting these results that we see. It's not because people are lazy or have some cultural pathology or deficiency. It's these systems that are designed to get the effect that we're seeing.
And that's why we hear about people talking about dismantling
Yes, yes, yes.
systemic racist systems.
Yes, we need to create new social arrangements. What we have is not working, and we have enough for everyone to thrive, to have a real healthy, creative society. But right now, what we're seeing is a few exploiting off of the backs of many and growing, wealth inequality, and it's just absolutely insane. And if we do not stop this, and the thing about racism, it just doesn't hurt black and brown and native people. It hurts all of us. Racism hurts white people too, because white supremacy and racism it's like a cancer that consumes and consumes the body till there's nothing left. So you can connect white supremacy and racism to environmental degradation, to sexism. It's all connected. The insanity and the greed behind it.
Would you say it's connected in that it's about control? Or how would you say it's connected?
First of all, I think that white supremacy and racism is absolutely insane. So to try to figure out the insanity of it,
It doesn't.
but
Yeah. But I mean, in
right.
connection to say things like sexism. etc.
Yeah, I think it's greed, it's control, it's power, and of course in its design, it was so that everything benefits white men, right? But it also, racism and white supremacy harms white men. It not only dehumanizes the oppressed, but it dehumanizes the oppressor. And so it hurts white men, it hurts white people, it hurts all of us. We may see like white people live longer or as a group have more wealth, but are they really happy? Our human soul, it's very difficult for us to digest all of the injustice around us. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, native,
There's there's like a yin yang component
Yeah.
to it. Like when you do something hateful to somebody else, you're like hurting yourself as well.
You're hurting yourself. And even if you're watching something hateful and you are silent, you are hurting yourself too. And so we really need to move and recognize that we all have a role in becoming anti-racist, active anti-racist. And it's either you're an anti-racist or you're a racist. There's no in between anymore, because to be silent is to maintain the status quo. And you may feel like, oh, this issue doesn't impact me, or I'm getting privileges from this. But like I said, racism is a virus that will kill us all. It will destroy our planet, and it will consume us all. And it harms all of us.
I see a lot of people on Facebook posting their pictures
Uh-huh.
out on their boats and living life like none of this is even happening. And I'm like, how are you guys
Yeah,
pretending like this is not a problem that you need to be focusing on?
right.
It is kind of upsetting to see people kind of apathetic.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, it's a lot to absorb, so they want to retreat from it all and escape. And what's our main things that we use to escape? Sex, food, drugs, sports, shopping, So it's a form of escapism. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
something that's really frustrating for me is I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. And in Jacksonville, Florida, there's a large amount of people that are conservative, very religious, and the argument that I hear from a lot of people down there anytime I talk to them about things that are happening on the news with George Floyd, the man in Atlanta in the drive-thru, it's always, oh, well, what did they do to deserve how the police treated them?
Right.
And how would you respond to a person like that focuses more so on the crime and not the response by the police of excessive force?
Yeah. I would say to that person that there comes a point, and I could understand, like, in the beginning, like when people can be in denial about stuff, like you want to believe that this system is good and this country is good, and especially if you're born white, because you're seeing in the swim of privilege, you're not going to realize other perspectives. And so I can kind of empathize with white folks. You don't want to think that your country and these systems are this messed up. Like, that's a hard pill to digest. But the reality is, these systems are messed up, and it's been messed up from the very beginning. And so people really need to read the history. Look at the...
It's a feature.
Right. Read history, and get to know communities of color, and critically look at your news that you're getting in, and look at other news sources. Don't just feed yourself on one particular news, like Fox News. You have to critically take in all that stuff, because a lot of those news companies, they have agendas.
They all do.
Yeah. Mostly they all do. Like I favor, NPR and Al Jazeera, but yeah. But yeah, that's what I would say. It's like, I know for a lot of conservative white America, they want to believe that our systems are good, and our systems are good towards them. But look at the history, at the way that Black, brown, and Native people have been treated. I mean, the foundations of our country's wealth have been on anti-Blackness and indigenous invisibility. Exploiting Black labor and stealing Native lands, and also exploiting Asian labor with the building of the railroads and stealing of Mexican lands. We've exploited off of the backs of Black, brown, and Native people. And a lot of our wealthy, like I hate to go rag on Walmart, but look at Walmart. Walmart is making tons and tons and tons of money. Fortune 500, they're just raking in money, right? Yeah. Yes, because we're subsidizing Walmart employees. They're treating their employees horribly. They're paying them low wages. They don't give them full-time employment. So we have to subsidize most, a lot of them are on, Medicare.
Yeah, this is what Bernie Sanders is talking about.
Absolutely. And so corporations are exploiting American people, and then they pit us against each other. They try to pit rural white America against inner city black, brown, and native people when really our issues are similar. I mean, rural, poor white folks and black, brown, and native folks should be joining, you know, and but they do all this dog whistle politics, and they pander on racial anxiety, and they fan those flames, and it's the whole thing is divide and conquer, and we fall for that same okie doke, divide and conquer, and they try to keep Americans extremely divided, and they play the politics of identities, so we don't become unified, and creating the real America that our democracy wants us to live out.
Why do you think they want to keep us divided?
Because it allows there to be greater consolidation of power. It allows there to be greater exploitation.
I
And
sometimes wonder if this is the same reason why the education system in America is nowhere near the same quality as other education systems in other countries.
Right.
I sometimes wonder if it was intentional.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to rule a people if
Oh,
they're
yeah.
not educated.
Yeah, but it's like the same thing with our healthcare system. Like, it's such a huge part, our healthcare system is such a huge part of our GDP, but yet Americans have extremely poor health. And there are other countries that are not as wealthy as America that has not only a better healthcare system, but have better health outcomes for the citizens. Our people are becoming increasingly unhealthy, you know, and that's exploitation as well, you know. Like I think our foods need to be better regulated, you know, and so it's like all of this greed, where you're willing to exploit people. It's exploitation of people, and it's not okay. And then people want small government, right? They want small government and big military, so it can protect their global interests. But they don't want regulation. You know, they're all about deregulation so that they can further exploit. They want money to be free, but people to be controlled. You know, money is more liberated than people. You know, that's a shame that money is more liberated than people, you know. Corporations have more power than individual humans. And so
The control it has over Congress.
yes. Oh, our government is completely bought out. The corporations have bought out our government. I mean, it's and when you look, you see these people that revolve, you know, in and out of governments, and then in really high-level positions in corporations, and then back in government. You know, it's a. We need campaign finance reform. There are so many things we need, but I'm really glad that we're taking this moment to really center on anti-blackness and reflect on anti-blackness, because this is a dark part of American history that's still playing out, and it's so much easier for us to run to all these other issues. But we really need to reflect and sit and dwell and unpack and identify and dismantle anti-blackness. And I believe as we do that, a lot of this other stuff is going to unravel very quickly. It's a major, yes. And this is just the thing of America that is causing us so much pain and so much harm. And it's unnecessary.
I think something that you said earlier about history.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people that I talked to about Juneteenth have never heard of it. And they were saying, like,
Yeah.
you know, I learned about Black history in school, and I thought about it, and I was thinking, well, we learned about a version of Black history that our education system wanted us to know about, but Juneteenth was not included.
Now,
in
when
that.
you think about our educational system and where they teach us this history about Black people, it's also kind of psychological programming to have an inferior mindset. Because I remember in school as a little boy learning this history. My history started with slavery, you know, and it's like you learn most of the year all the wonderful things that white folks have done, and then when you have your little Black History Month or your little Black section of history, it's really about slavery and then the civil rights, but like your history starts with slavery. And so it's a
How
very
does that make a Black person feel?
Exactly. And so it's a very incomplete history, it's a very tokenizing history, and it's a history that is very incomplete. But it's a history that's meant to further oppress. Yeah. Our education system, our public education system, and I know there's a lot of great schools and systems doing a lot of work, but for the most part, our public education system is extremely harmful
But it's not
as
so
well.
much that you want to whitewash slavery
No.
from education,
No.
force it, put it
Right.
in context,
Right.
and also provide
Right.
multiple examples of things that uplift the
Yes.
Black community
Yes.
and provide a more fuller picture
Yes.
instead of a slanted view.
Yes, and an empowering picture, a picture that shares the real truth.
Yeah.
And then regarding the history of what has happened in America of white supremacy, that history needs to be told in a much more direct and honest manner, instead of kind of washed down and sugar-coated, you know. And so we have a lot of work to do.
Why do you think it's sugar-coated? Because they think that people will feel too much guilt over what's happened?
Yeah, like when we think about Christopher Columbus, I mean, there's a lot that's coming out about Christopher Columbus.
You know, he just lost his head, right?
But also, like, he was one of the biggest, what they were saying, sex trafficking. Yeah, there's some really interesting stuff there.
You mean the guy who discovered America for
Yeah.
the first time? The second time.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you guys.